welcome back to this conversation. We're in week 2 of the story of Abraham. And in this week, I think the conversation lends itself to this idea of maybe disappointment, maybe hopes and dreams that don't really turn out the way that we want, and how God's promise still is anchored in our lives, even in the midst of the times that we don't get what we want or our expectations aren't met. So in the story this week, we find Abraham and Lot looking at this plot of land, right? And Abraham kind of in this moment of, I don't know whether it was peacemaking or benevolence or whatever it was, but he allows his nephew to take his choice of where he wanted to settle and build his encampment. And then Abraham takes the leftovers. And it just makes me think about times in my life where I had an expectation of the way that things would turn out, and I didn't get what I wanted, or when someone else stepped in and took what I thought was rightfully mine. So I can think of a moment when I had trained this person up, like I was like a trainer on the team that I was a part of, and I had this person shadowing me, and I trained them up in the job, and we ended up like posting for the same promotion, and she got the job and I didn't. And I'm going through this whole like that's not fair and this sort of thing, and in the moment I thought that I was robbed. I thought I was so disappointed. But here I am, in a different place, and God continued to work, and He was faithful in my life. Have you ever had a moment in your life where you didn't get what you wanted or you were disappointed? How about you, Elena?
Oh, probably many times in my life. I think I learned really quickly you don't always get what you want. Coming into young adulthood and stepping out into the workforce and things like that, just learning that you have to roll with the punches, and no matter how hard you try to plan your life or try to set yourself up for what you think is best for you, like it's not guaranteed, and I think that's by design for me, because I'm a planner. Like if I could, I would plan out. I mean, I had my whole life planned out 3 or 4 different times, I think, and it's never gone the way that I wanted it to. So. But I'm grateful for that. So.
How about you all? Have you ever faced disappointment or didn't get what you wanted?
For sure.
The human experience, right?
But also, I think I've experienced it, just being disappointed by other people and their choices. Like if I'm being honest, and I won't name names or anything like that. But, it's like part of the human experience. You love people and you work alongside people and you have friendships, and they just do not always turn out the way that you hope they will, And that's really formative in your life, the way that you respond to that, and the way that you allow God into that disappointment and pain.
Yeah, and that's kind of an unexpected one too. It's like there are times where, you feel slighted, right? And the resulting emotion is anger, frustration, whatever. But the things you don't expect are the loss and the grief that comes from that. Boy, that can really hit you from, a blind spot when you encounter those things.
Yeah, I had this instance where I happened to get pregnant at the same time as a friend, and we were so excited and we were so happy, and we would go on walks and drink our water and talk about, the excitement. It would have been both of our firsts, and we were, walking on that journey together, and unfortunately I suffered a miscarriage and she did not, and that was really, really hard because I couldn't help but to feel some type of way about that. Why did I lose my baby and she didn't? And I had to watch, her belly grow and mine remained empty. And that was really, really hard for me for quite a while. Eventually, you know, I found peace and comfort in the Lord, but that was definitely something that was, you know, I thought I was locked into this promise that God had given me, but it was taken away where someone else's wasn't. And why me and not her?
That why question, yeah.
So yeah, it was really hard for me to navigate that, and it honestly took me a couple years to kind of get to the point where I felt that the Lord had healed my heart enough to not feel resentment.
And thanks for sharing that, because it's like those are real things, right? Resentment, pain, grief, frustration, anger. But I love, like, as the Abraham story continues to play out, you see God continue to be faithful to Abraham, even when he was in what felt like, you know, the plan B for his life. It's almost like God's promise to Abraham was anchored and linked to his life and not to his situation. Have you found that in your life where God's faithfulness outlives the situation that you're in? Yeah.
You really have to go back to that. I feel like it's like, okay, like this is chaos, or this pain is the reality that I feel. But God, this is what I know to be true about you and about what you say the plans are for my life, you know?
Yeah.
You have to like consciously choose to remind yourself of that, which is really hard.
Well, I was going to ask Hannah, did you ever get peace and understanding that you can understand why that happened?
You know, I don't know that I've ever come to a place where I can understand why that happened. I think that, you know, certain things just happen as a result of living in a world that unfortunately is corrupt with pain and death, and we are not exempt from that. We're, you know, just because we are followers of God doesn't mean that we are not going to experience the hardships of life. But I have felt a radical move of God in my life, and eventually, you know, I did get pregnant, and I have a 4-year-old little boy now. And so, you know, even though it took many years, I did get that fulfillment of that promise. And I am able now to look back and see his faithfulness, and see that he was there with me during that whole thing, and that he had a plan for me, and that call on my life was real, and he brought it to fruition in his timing. And so I have complete peace now.
Yeah. It's interesting you said the look back, right? And I think that's a theme that you kind of see emerging in this conversation about faithfulness is, I don't know, there's more insight in the rearview mirror, right? As you look back at, like, even in those moments of doubt when you don't think the Lord's going to come through and you make it to the other side in spite of yourself, the Lord remains faithful. I can draw inspiration from your story and your story and your story. If God's been faithful to you, there's some trust that I can have that he's going to be faithful to me. And I think there's something beautiful in that only comes about from this togetherness that we have in this pursuit of God together. Well, kind of where I want to land this is as you think about, like, where you sit right here, right now in the situation that you're in, you know, whether you're retirement age or whether you're working age or in this age, the season of care for parents or raising kids or whatever it might be, what do you sense that God's promise for you in the here and now might be? Let me start with you, Jack. You're in this later in life season, you know. What's God's promise to you?
Seeking a passion to finish my life strong. You know, God's promise to me is just keep doing what you're doing. Listen to me. And I pray daily to have a passion to know him at the deepest intimate level, and to just love serving him, you know, and so that there's a joy unspeakable in that.
Yeah, the promise of him.
Yes, the promise.
In your pursuit of him. Yeah, that's
it.
beautiful. That's beautiful. How about you, Jess, as a mom of 2?
Honestly, I just feel like the promise is that he's enough. You know, like his presence.
Some days it's more real than others, though, right?
100%. yeah, some days you're like, I got this, you know, and other days you're like, I can't even pack this lunch today. I don't know. So, but yeah, that he's enough. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What about you, Hannah?
Yeah, I mean, kind of similar. The last 6 or 7 years of my life have been incredibly difficult, and now I'm lucky enough to be standing fully in the fulfillment of promise in my life. So, for my calling and my purpose now is just to really live that out, and with so much gratitude for where you've brought me.
That's great. That's great. And so here's what's interesting, and we didn't rehearse this, but like the common thread here is the promise of Him. And that's astounding. So it's like God's promise isn't you'll never experience pain, you'll never have trouble, you'll never have difficulty. And even some of us here are still living in it, right? It's like still a part of our lives, but yet we have this promise of, I'm with you, you've got me, and what a beautiful thing. I think it's a great place to kind of land this, and is that we have the promise of Him. So, all right, well, we'll release folks to go to their group and continue to discuss, but how awesome.